it's late October right now, and yeah, on the suggestion of some wonderful online friend, I am going to work on consolidating all these bee boxes down to as small as possible because it really was a letdown. I was hoping for a box full of bees on the bottom and a box full of honey for stores for the winter, but the rainy September won, the bees lost, and I am getting some supplemental syrup for them inside the box, which I kind of put in a little contraption like this, where the sugar water, which is 2 parts sugar to 1 part water, is just stuck upside down like that, put on top of the box with a empty box on top, and then they just go up there and drink away and get themselves some extra reserves. But they haven't been going too crazy on that quite yet. I didn't get to add any additives, and I know there are some nutrients in there and you could buy online and at supply places that are provide some attraction for them, but didn't have the time for that. So I am going to get all the most efficient honey filled frames all in one box, and then I'm going to coat the top with a lot of sugar so they have extra supplies for the winter. So as I'm opening things up, I'm gonna find that any empty frame is a useless frame at this point. I want to make every frame count. But before I go on, I noticed there's a lot of pollen on this outside one. This one I replaced that way. Leave me alone. I'm gonna keep that there because that'll probably help them for the winter time for reserves. Interestingly, also, I do notice that there's actually still a little bit of brood in there. See those cells going on down here? Let me pry that open. Some dead bees drowned from the oxalic acid, or killed from the oxalic acid drip. Oh, speaking of which, if you watched me do the oxalic acid drip last week, you'll see what I'm going to talk about with the effects of it. But yeah, still a few babies coming out, so that's potentially a good thing. There's some dead pupae in there. They're going to probably remove them. But yeah, it's definitely some final touches on rearing some winter bees as adults. So I'm going to keep those guys going. They need bees to live through the winter and keep the queen warm by vibrating. But remember with the oxalic acid drip, you wonder if it's working. And again, shows you, hey, look, not all bees are in for stinging. This one's just hanging out on me. Watch this bottom board after I dripped it there. These are all dead mites, folks. Dead varroa mites all over the place. So proof that oxalic acid works, and proof that this hive needed it, because that is a lot of freaking mites. And so I'm going to shake those guys off, but some of them are weakened and diseased because of the mites and disease transmitted by them, but others are looking well enough to where hopefully I've got enough strong bees to keep this thing going. Yeah, these are very low numbers of bees, so I definitely need to consolidate to one box. I agree with my YouTube friends there that suggested that. We'll bring them down to a nuke box, if anything. So yeah, a few scattered babies left, but I'm not going to bore you with things. I'm just going to show you the finished product. Now, as I'm going along, I have essentially made the decision to even take out a little bit of the ones with the extra pollen because there's no more brood. I'm thinking the brood is probably actually dead in these few leftover cells. Either the cold got them because they're scattered, or disease got them from the mites or whatnot. But I don't think I'm going to worry about 50 more or less bees on there. But I decided I'm going to take, again, there's not a lot of great things here. I mean, this one's largely capped with honey, and then it's a lot of uncapped stuff. It could still be nectar from some leftover goldenrod nectar out there. I see a few bloomers. Could just be the sugar substitute that I'm providing, but hey, either way, that's the kind of stuff I want to load this whole hive with. And and we're gonna effectively close up shop. I decided I'm not going to show you how I'm going to put the sugar on quite yet, because I think I still want to get another week or so of actual syrup going for them. But it's going to start getting cold pretty soon, and they're just going to huddle together, so the feeding part is going to be less and less. And so now I just need you guys to get out of the way enough for me to get this frame in, since I'm bare-handed, and we will close up shop. I wanted to show what we're going to do is I'm going to put a mouse guard on the front. I've already got an entrance reducer there. I'm going to hammer that a little further in place because it's sticking out a tiny bit, and then I'm going to screw on one of these bad boys, because mice like to go into the hives over the winter too. So if you just screw one of these into the bottom board, they will have some holes that they can actually get in and out of, but the mice can't chew their way through it. So that's the plan.